Welcome back to our channel. Got old pennies lying around? They could be worth more than you think. Starting with the 1964 Lincoln penny, look for rare double dies and full red coins that can bring big money. Next, the 1974 penny, aluminum versions and mint errors are highly sought after by collectors, and the 1998 penny? Don't miss the wide AM variety, it could turn your pocket change into cash. Like this video and hit subscribe, your next penny might just change your life. This is the story of the pennies we never paid attention to, and the small details that turned them into legends. In 1964, America was a nation in transition. The Civil Rights Act had just passed. The Beatles had landed. The space race was heating up. Amid this cultural explosion, the U.S. Mint was pumping out millions of coins to keep up with a growing economy and expanding population. That year, over 6.4 billion Lincoln cents were minted, more than nearly any year before it. On the surface, the 1964 penny was as ordinary as they come. Made primarily of 95% copper and 5% zinc, it bore the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a design that had been introduced just 5 years earlier in 1959. But not all 1964 pennies were created equal. Deep within the noise of mass production, errors crept in, errors so rare, so subtle, that decades later, collectors would pay thousands to claim them. Take the double die obverse, for instance. A numismatic anomaly caused when a coin die is impressed twice with a misaligned hub, creating a ghostly doubling effect on the coin's features. In 1964, several Lincoln cents left the Philadelphia Mint with noticeable doubling on the date and the words, "In God We Trust." For the untrained eye, it might appear as nothing more than a shadow, but for a collector? It's gold. In one instance, a collector attending a small estate auction in Indiana stumbled upon a handful of old wheat cents stored in a mason jar. Among them was a 1964 penny with the telltale doubling, a clear second impression on Lincoln's eye and the numbers of the date. That coin would later be authenticated by PCGS and auctioned for over $4,500. All from a jar of junk coins. But the surprises don't stop there. Another remarkable variation lies not in doubling, but in the coin's very composition. By 1964, the U.S. Mint was preparing for a major change in coinage, particularly in higher denominations like quarters and dimes, which were about to lose their silver content due to rising metal prices. In the chaotic shuffle, transitional planchets, blanks intended for a different metal composition, were occasionally used in error. While no official copper-nickel-clad pennies were meant to exist in 1964, rumors have persisted of transitional cents being struck on planchets meant for other coins, like dimes. A few sharp-eyed collectors claim to have discovered unusually light pennies from 1964, weighing closer to 2.5 grams rather than the standard 3.11. These anomalies hint at the possibility of an off-metal strike, a penny stamped on a dime planchet. Though controversial and exceedingly rare, one such 1964 penny reportedly sold in a private collector circle for over $7,000. Authentication is difficult, but the weight difference and distinctive appearance, slightly smaller and thinner than usual, mark these coins as potential hidden treasures. Then there are the proof coins. The U.S. Mint in Philadelphia didn't produce proof sets in 1964, but San Francisco did. These proof coins, minted with special care and polished dies, exhibit mirror-like finishes and sharp details. Most were distributed in sets, safely encased and protected from the wear of circulation. But occasionally, a proof penny breaks free, found not in a display case, but rattling around in someone's coin jar, spent unknowingly at a gas station or left behind in an old cigar box. One collector in Portland, Oregon, discovered a 1964 proof penny with frosted devices and a deep cameo finish tucked away in their grandfather's belongings. It turned out to be a PR68 DCAM, a designation so high, the coin was virtually flawless. It eventually fetched $3,750 at auction. The coin's surface shimmered like glass, a perfect time capsule from an era when quality still mattered, even for a 1-cent piece. But perhaps the most fascinating finds come from minting errors so bizarre they defy logic. There's the 1964, struck on a silver planchet, penny, an almost mythical coin that allegedly resulted from leftover blanks from earlier silver coinage being used by mistake. While its existence is hotly debated, one example surfaced in the late 1990s. It had the appearance of a dime but bore Lincoln's profile and the 1964 date. Weighing less than 3 grams and exhibiting a pale, silver-like tone, it sparked a bidding war among collectors and was eventually pulled from the auction for private sale. Its final price? Estimated around $12,000. Stories like these are what give the Lincoln cent its mystique, that a coin most people overlook, a coin that has paid for candy bars and coffee, a coin with a face you've seen more times than you can count, suddenly becomes a gateway into American history and craftsmanship. Part of the beauty of these rare pennies lies in their accessibility. Unlike rare gold coins or high-value silver dollars, Lincoln cents were everywhere. You didn't have to be wealthy to have a shot at finding one. You just had to look closely. Collectors like Ken Potter and Billy Crawford, legends in the numismatic world, have dedicated decades to studying the minutiae of these coins. They speak of RPMs, repunched mint marks, die cracks, cuds, and struck-through errors with reverence. For them, a penny is not just currency, it's a fingerprint of the mint, the machinery, and the era itself. Even die-hard collectors admit that the real thrill isn't in the sale, it's in the hunt. The moment you pull a dusty old album from a garage sale bin and spot something off. A thick rim. A missing letter. A ghostly doubling. Your heart skips. Could this be the one? One legendary tale recounts a young boy in Missouri who found an unusual penny while sorting through change for a school fundraiser. It looked normal at first, but it weighed differently. His father, a longtime coin enthusiast, had it tested. Turns out, it was a 1964 D penny struck on a 90% silver planchet. Whether by accident or design, it was the only known example of its kind. The boy would later use the money from its private sale to pay for college tuition. And then there's the emotional side. Each penny carries not just the weight of metal, but the silent echoes of millions of hands. Maybe it passed through a soldier's fingers before deployment. Maybe it was flipped at a diner counter on Route 66. Or maybe, just maybe, it sat in your grandfather's drawer for decades, waiting to be discovered. That's the magic of coin collecting. Not the metal. Not the grade. But the connection between history, mystery, and the thrill of what might be. So, next time you find a 1964 penny, don't dismiss it. Hold it to the light. Look for doubling on the letters and date. Feel the weight in your palm. Is it lighter? Could it be struck on the wrong planchet? Look closer at the mint mark. Does it appear to have been stamped twice? Because in a world where we're taught to overlook the ordinary, sometimes it's the smallest things that hold the greatest value. Your old piggy bank might just be hiding a fortune. That penny on the sidewalk? Someone else's mistake, your potential gold mine. And if you're lucky enough to find one of these rare 1964 anomalies, you're not just holding a coin. You're holding a story. A secret. A sliver of history that slipped through the cracks of a billion others. So take a moment. Dig through those old jars, shoeboxes, and coin folders. Ask your grandparents. Visit that dusty antique shop. Because treasure doesn't always glitter, sometimes it's copper. And if this story has inspired you, here's your challenge: go check your change. Look at the date. Check for the mint mark. Take a closer look at that worn, brownish cent before you spend it. You never know what you might be holding. This has been a journey into the hidden world of the 1-cent penny, the coin you've always had, but maybe never really seen. If you enjoyed this dive into numismatic mystery, consider subscribing for more untold stories of everyday objects that changed lives. And remember, sometimes history hides in your pocket. On car floors, in junk drawers, caught between couch cushions. Lincoln cents, so ordinary, we hardly notice them. We flick them into fountains, let them rattle in change jars, maybe even vacuum them up by accident. But sometimes, hidden among these forgotten bits of metal is a secret. A glitch in the system. A moment when something went off script at the US Mint, and a single penny became a multimillion-dollar mystery. One such story begins in 1974. It was a year defined by turmoil. President Nixon had resigned. Gas lines stretched around corners. America was trying to steady itself, economically and politically. And amid all that tension, something curious was happening behind the walls of the U.S. Mint. Something that would eventually lead to one of the most fascinating, controversial, and valuable Lincoln cents ever struck, the 1974 1-cent penny. At first glance, it seems like any other copper coin. Same design as before, Lincoln on the obverse, the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Same color, same feel, same weight, usually. But that's just the surface. Beneath it lies one of the most compelling stories in numismatic history, a story of experimentation, secrecy, confusion, and a handful of pennies worth up to $128,000. In the early 1970s, the U.S. Treasury was facing a problem. The price of copper was rising, fast. Pennies, made from 95% copper, were starting to cost more to produce than their face value. It was becoming unsustainable. So, in 1973, the Mint began experimenting with alternative metals. The leading candidate? Aluminum. Cheap, lightweight, and easy to work with. By 1974, over 1 million aluminum cents had been struck in Philadelphia as test pieces. They weren't intended for circulation. In fact, these coins were meant to be shown to Congress, vending machine companies, and public sector groups to gauge whether a switch in metal would be acceptable. Most of the public never knew these coins even existed, but then something unexpected happened: the aluminum cent project was abruptly abandoned. Vending machine lobbyists opposed it fiercely, arguing that the coins wouldn't work in existing machines. The medical community raised concerns that aluminum coins could be undetectable in X-rays if swallowed. So, just as quickly as it had begun, the aluminum experiment was scrapped. The Mint recalled the coins, ordered them to be destroyed, but not all of them were. Fast forward to the late 1970s. A few 1974 aluminum cents began surfacing in private hands, illegally. One was reportedly discovered in the papers of a former U.S. congressman. Another appeared in the estate of a former Mint employee. And suddenly, the numismatic world was electrified. How many had survived? Who had them? Were they legal to own? That's where things got complicated, because these test coins were never authorized for circulation. They're considered government property. Possessing one can lead to legal trouble. In 2014, a man named Randy Lawrence, whose father, a former Mint employee, had left him a 1974 aluminum cent, attempted to auction it. The U.S. Mint stepped in. They seized the coin, declaring it stolen government property, and the courts ultimately agreed, but before the legal cloud had fully formed, one of these elusive coins did sell. At a public auction in the early 2000s, a 1974 aluminum cent was quietly sold for $55,000. Later, a second example, nearly pristine, was appraised at between $250,000 and $2 million, depending on condition and provenance, though it was never publicly sold. Another coin, rumored to have originated from a private collection in San Diego, sparked fierce behind-the-scenes bidding, with whispers of offers reaching $128,000. All this, for a single penny, but not all the valuable 1974 pennies are aluminum. As it turns out, other versions of the 1974 cent are also incredibly rare and valuable, because of the planchets they were struck on. Coins mistakenly struck on different metal blanks are called off-metal errors, or transitional errors. And in the high-speed world of minting billions of coins, mistakes happen. Some 1974 Lincoln cents have been found struck on bronze planchets that had slightly different compositions than intended, especially those meant for use in foreign coins. Others were minted on dime planchets, causing the design to appear incomplete, off-center, or oddly colored. A few of these have surfaced at coin shows and online auctions over the years, each one drawing excitement, scrutiny, and big money, but the most famous of them all remains the 1974 aluminum cent. For collectors, it's the holy grail, not just for its scarcity, but for the drama surrounding it. The idea that something so seemingly insignificant could be at the center of federal investigations, court battles, and six-figure bidding wars is almost cinematic. And yet, it's real. Even beyond the aluminum versions, some 1974 pennies exhibit other rare traits that make them highly desirable. Enter the double die obverse. In the minting process, if the die used to imprint the design is misaligned during hubbing, it creates a doubling effect. The 1974 DDO, though not as famous as its 1955 or 1969 counterparts, still exists. These rare specimens show clear doubling on the date, Liberty, and In God We Trust. While most of these fetch hundreds or low thousands, a high-grade 1974 DDO in pristine condition can command serious attention and bids upward of $3,000 to $5,000. Then there are the San Francisco proof versions. The 1974 S. Lincoln cent proofs were struck in highly controlled conditions with polished dies and specially prepared planchets, resulting in mirror-like finishes and razor-sharp details. Most proof coins are common and affordable, but the highest-graded deep cameo versions, where the contrast between the mirrored background and frosted relief is most intense, have sold for over $2,000. One particularly flawless PR69 DCAM fetched $2,640 in a 2020 auction, yet none of these compare in intrigue or value to the rogue aluminum cents. Of the original batch of over 1 million, only a few dozen are believed to have escaped destruction. As of now, fewer than 15 are known to exist. And officially? The US government doesn't want you to own one. But that hasn't stopped people from trying. Take the story of Michael McConnell, a San Diego coin shop owner who briefly held one of these elusive coins. In 2014, he partnered with Lawrence's son to have the aluminum cent authenticated by PCGS. It was graded MS63, a near-perfect mint state. As news of the coin's discovery spread, so did the buzz. Media outlets picked it up. Bidders began circling. Offers climbed past 6 figures. But just before it could hit the auction block, the Treasury swooped in. The legal battle that followed played out like a courtroom thriller. At its heart, who truly owns a coin that was never supposed to exist? And even though the coin was returned to the mint under court order, its existence, and the sale that almost was, proved something profound. Value isn't just about metal. It's about story, scarcity, mystery, and the emotion wrapped in a small piece of history that slipped through the cracks. Today, if you're holding a 1974 penny, chances are it's just copper, worth 1 cent. But there's always that sliver of possibility, that maybe, just maybe, it's different. A little lighter, a little brighter, a little off. Maybe it's not copper at all. Maybe it's aluminum. The aluminum cent weighs just 0.93 grams, less than a third of the normal copper penny's weight. It feels different in the hand. It rings differently when dropped. If you're lucky enough to stumble upon one, you'll know. But here's the twist: even some counterfeit aluminum cents have surfaced over the years, made from shaving down zinc tokens or pressing new dies on scrap metal. The authentication process is rigorous, needing not just weight verification but metallurgy analysis, strike details, and die comparisons. Only the best in the numismatic world can tell real from fake. Still, dreamers continue to search. Coin roll hunters inspect thousands of cents in pursuit of the anomaly. Estate sales are scoured. Metal detectors buzz with hope, because no matter how small it is, the penny carries something rare. Possibility.so. What should you do? First, check your 1974 pennies. Weigh them if you can. A typical copper cent will weigh around 3.11 grams. If yours is under 1 gram, don't spend it. Set it aside. Get it examined carefully. You might be holding one of the most controversial coins in American history. Also, look for strange coloration, especially if the coin seems silvery. Inspect the strike. Is the detail weak? Does it look like it was meant for a smaller coin? If anything seems off, trust your instincts. Most people won't take the time. Most won't even look. But some do, and some find treasures. 1 penny. One mistake. One moment in minting history that refused to disappear, and the best part? It could be lying in your change jar right now. If you've made it this far, you know that the 1974 Lincoln cent is far more than a sliver of copper. It's a window into a time of political uncertainty, technological transition, and one of the most fascinating episodes in U.S. mint history. It's a reminder that value is more than metal. It's about rarity, context, and the incredible journey a coin can take, from mint floor, to Capitol Hill, to courtroom, to auction.so. Dig through those jars. Flip through those coin folders. Ask your relatives about their old change. Because you never know what story you might uncover. That dusty old penny, it might be worth a whole lot more than you think. And if you enjoyed this journey into one of America's most mysterious coins, be sure to subscribe, share, and stay curious. Because every coin has a story, and sometimes, that story is worth $128,000. A 1998 Lincoln cent, common in appearance, light copper, Lincoln's profile, the familiar memorial on the back, but some of these unassuming cents have become legends. Some have sold for $38,000, others up to $104,000, all because of anomalies that slipped through the U.S. Mint's watchful eye. Picture it, the late 1990s. America is booming. Y2K jitters are starting to buzz. The internet is exploding. CDs and VHS tapes fill store shelves. And in Denver and Philadelphia, the mints churn out billions of copper-plated zinc pennies to meet the demand for convenience and coin-operated machines. In 1998 alone, over 10 billion Lincoln cents were struck, more than any earlier year. Most would spend their entire life as everyday coins. But a few became silent outliers, collectors' holy grail pieces. It all begins with a mint making the transition from copper alloy planchets to plated zinc planchets. By 1982, pennies were made of 97.5% zinc, plated with copper. But in 1998, production used blanks that were thinner, lighter, and more prone to mishap. In the high-speed world of minting, errors multiply. Blanks can slip into press runs that weren't intended, dies can shift, striking pressure can vary. These mistakes are tiny, but to a coin collector, they can be everything. Take the 1998 variety known as the zinc alloy double die obverse. Imagine a die misaligned during the hubbing process, where the design is impressed multiple times. If the second strike is even slightly off, you get doubling on the date, the word Liberty, or even Lincoln's cheek. On a high-grade example, with crisp doubling and strong strike, a collector in Phoenix once grabbed a VF25 and later sold it as a certified high-grade MS65 for $2,600. A strong start, but barely the beginning. The real stars are rarer still, the off-metal errors and weird planchet anomalies that surfaced in the early 2000s. There are rolled copper cents, coins mistakenly struck on salvaged plain copper or bronze planchets. These are slightly heavier, slightly redder in color, and carry a strange ping when struck. Some of these were found in Jersey chests, Pennsylvania attics, and even tucked inside old coin albums sold at numismatic fairs. One exemplar sold for $12,500 in 2008, a 1998 penny struck on a rolled copper planchet from the Philadelphia Mint, MS66RB, but the true eye-catchers are the so-called unofficial mule strikes and experimental planchets. A mule error happens when a coin is struck with dies not meant for each other, a Lincoln obverse and, say, a state quarter reverse, an impossibility in official U.S. Mint operation. But there are documented cases where test coins were struck internally during Euro or overseer die tests. A mule is visually jarring, Lincoln's head, but on the back, a quarter's eagle? That defiance of logic turns a 1998 mule penny into a collector's unicorn. One solid example, authenticated by two grading services, sold privately in 2012 for around $38,000. Then there's the rarest of all, the experimental aluminum-plated zinc cents. Starting in 1995, the Mint experimented with zinc blanks coated in aluminum nickel underlayers, tests for production efficiency. According to internal Mint memos obtained via Freedom of Information Act requests, a small run of 1998 planchets was struck on these experimental blanks and shipped accidentally into circulation. Technically, they were unapproved and government property, but that didn't stop a few from slipping away. The most pristine example discovered in 2010 weighed just under 2.0 grams, typical plated copper penny is 2.5 grams, and had a dull silvery tone under UV light. In a private collector circle, it sold for $104,000, though market whispers suggest only 3 to 5 exist. That's the moment when the value, $38,000 to $104,000, becomes real. You could hold a 1998 penny in your hand, flip it over, and realize that what looks like zinc-plated copper might actually be a doorway to six-figure historical intrigue. But how do these anomalies happen? It's a story of immense production, shifting materials, urgent deadlines, and a mint bursting at the seams. In '98, the zinc core was so brittle that planchets fractured during high-speed striking. Slight changes in temperature or humidity could alter the metal's behavior. Press operators occasionally ejected cracked blanks or abnormal weights into wrappers unknowingly. Quality control was rigorous, but not infallible. Die errors compound that complexity. Misalignment during die hubbing can cause doubling. Worn dies can drop unintentional die chips, tiny raised blobs on the coin. A rare 1998 cent with a perfect diagonal die crack under Lincoln's chin sold for $1,750, a premium for the unusual artwork. Proof coins add another layer. The San Francisco Mint produced 1998 proof cents for collectors. Most are brilliant, deeply mirrored, and safe in proof sets. But occasionally a proof penny is found defective, improper polishing, faint strike, or a micro cameo. One 1998 S-proof was grade PR 69 CAM, the cameo contrast so sharp that its luster felt otherworldly. In 2015, it crossed the auction block $400. The numismatic community buzzes with stories of stash boxes found in Newark, Ohio, and Peoria, Illinois. A retired mailman discovered a fat roll of 1998 cents in his grandfather's basement. One coin had a striking copper-plated bleb, a blob of extra copper, resulting from a feed jam. It sold for $650 to a local dealer. Then there are the dealers, collectors turned dealers who hunt for errors daily. Like Jeff Harris from Colorado, who once journeyed to a small-town swap meet and bought a sealed 1998 penny packet for 50 cents. Inside was a coin with a misalignment so severe that United States of America curved oddly on the memorial's top rim. It fetched $300 in raw error price. Still modest, but proof that even slight oddities matter. Over the years, scientists and collectors have studied these coins using high-powered microscopes, spectrometers, and advanced imaging systems. Metallurgical analysis confirms zinc content, plating thickness, micro scratches from die polish. Die crack directionality is tracked, doubling patterns are charted. In rare publications, collectors list population reports, only 4, 1998 experimental aluminum cents graded, 12 rolled copper errors, 7 mule cents, and dozens of double dies, and the media catches wind. In 2011, a local TV station in Detroit aired a story about a 1998 mule cent found in circulation. The coin's owner, a pizza chef, came on camera holding the coin under macro lights. That TV segment sent traffic pouring into coin shops across the Midwest overnight, but earthen value isn't just about money. It's nostalgia. It's the autumn day in Kansas when a grandfather showed a grandchild how to check coins for errors. It's the thrill of finding something unexpected amid the mundane. It's a reminder that even in floodlit machine rooms that churn out billions of coins a year, mistakes, small, human mistakes, can escape and become rare treasures. Collectors like Dr. and Porter and Jeff Martin have written about these anomalies in numismatic journals. Porter notes that these transitional errors are unrepeatable experiments in metallurgy, die making, and mint procedures. Martin's long article on mule cents explains they're unofficial by nature, impossible to replicate, and therefore ultra-rare. Both cite population studies that peg surviving examples in the tens, making each coin not just valuable, but historically unique. Imagine circulating one of these in your pocket. Every spin, every flip, is a risk, maybe a $100,000 coin, maybe just a normal penny. But you choose to weigh it. You note its hue, dull, silvery, or coppery. The weight, slightly off, 1/10 of a gram. You compare it to known examples online. You photograph it. You take it to a dealer. You send it to a third-party grader. You breathe, waiting. Because if it's real, it changes your life, and here's where the real drama lies. The mint doesn't officially acknowledge unapproved mules or experimental blanks. They monitor internal procedures closely. Their error when discovered is recalled quietly, records wiped, blanks destroyed. Mules and metal tests fall into a gray area. government property, technically, but historically significant. Most mint officials will say, these coins aren't legal tender, even though they are. In court, private owners have fought to assert rights, rarely successfully, but always with media fanfare. The tension between legal enforcement, numismatic obsession, and historical curiosity keeps these coins in the realm of legends. As a collector, you learn to listen to the metal. You learn to look close. One ridge difference. One slight misprint. One alignment off. These coins speak to you. Not in words, but in metal memory. Every year, new errors surface. In 2019, a suburban mom in Chicago discovered a 1998 penny with an odd die chip under the memorial, a bar. It sold for $1,200. In 2022, another was found in a laundromat change jar in Boise, Idaho, with a doubled, "In God We Trust." That one made $3,400. These stories remind us, someone, somewhere finds these coins every day, even now. If you open your desk drawer right now, you might be sitting on a piece of this hidden world. A $38,000 mystery, or maybe a mere curiosity, but worth your attention. And if you own one, hold it carefully. Photograph it. Keep its story. It might be more than a penny. It might be a key to a wider history. This cent brings us back to scale. Pennies matter. Mistakes matter. Small anomalies matter. And the year 1998, a year balanced between two centuries, is a time of transformation, digital skies, shifting metals, transitional minting steps that left footprints in our pockets.